It's about so many different things that are going on
You're okay. You're still okay.
that are part of your lifestyle, the way we birth our young, the way we leave the earth when we die, the way that we raise our children. It's all about that. And so we are now welcoming vendors where we didn't have booths before for people to show all the different ways of being in the world and all the alternative ways of being in the world and the different lifestyles and how you can incorporate all this into a more conscious living lifestyle. I personally wanted to make it more of an ecological film festival, to really address the impact of food on the environment, because most people believe that the environmental choices that we have to leave the least amount of carbon footprint has to do with the cars we drive, has to do with transportation, has to do with changing light bulbs. All of this helps. Every bit of this assists. But that's not the real culprit for climate warming, and that's not what leaves the worst footprint, the carbon footprint at all. What really does is our lifestyle. It's our food addictions, our addiction to non-foods, to getting things that are processed, that have to come from far and wide, and also from our addiction to cattle, to eating things that are here not to serve us, but other life forms and other life beings that actually have been tortured on our behalf just because we believe that we need a juicy steak, or because we believe that we need to wear a fur coat because we're cold, and we do not understand the impact of what goes into that and what happens to these other beings when we make choices like this. And so it's not to put anybody down who wants to eat meat, it's to make them aware what goes into what they see on their plate and why and how it affects them, because what people don't realize that what they're eating is energy. You're not eating steak, you're eating the energy of the animal and the way it was killed, the way it was raised, all the torture that it was inflicted on it. And most people do not see that connection between the exhaustion, the tiredness, the feeling of deprivation afterwards, that they feel the feeling of disconnectedness with their families and with themselves. That is because we've been disconnected with our food. We're not connected with where it comes from, how it was raised, what happened on the way there. And we don't realize that when you eat a plant, it's more than just eating a plant. What you're eating is the sun, the moon, the stars, the water, all the elements are there, the air. What you're eating too is everybody who ever walked by there when the plant was growing. What you're eating too is anybody who might have gone by and cursed and been angry, or somebody who murdered somebody and threw the person there. That's the energy that we're eating. So we do not realize that food is crucial to every aspect of our life. Food is very political, it is definitely economic, and it is very much social. And food is actually a great indicator of the social scale. And what I find very interesting, actually, David, is that one of the things that people do not realize is the almost bizarre way that we look at food. For example, poverty and rich and plentiful abundance. And when we think of people who are poor or people who are rich, people who are rich usually go to restaurants and buy foods that are depleted, that are manufactured in labs, and that are bred in extremely violent conditions and killed in violent conditions. And that's a sign of richness and wealth. Poverty. What's the sign of poverty? That you have to grow food in your own garden, that you can only eat plants and fruits and vegetables. That's very bizarre to think that way. A five-star restaurant, a very expensive restaurant, is actually the main outlet for torture and violence. And something that is simple of growing your own food and eating it is seen as something that's from a poor perspective. So we've got to change the way that we look at the social structure and how we entertain ourselves. It's everything we have to look at. So that's why it's not a raw food film festival, it's a raw lifestyle film festival, because food is very indicative of every other aspect of our lives. There is not one aspect of our life that it does not touch. And if you want to know how a person is, the truth of their being, eat with them and look at how they eat, when they eat, and what they're eating. And that tells you everything about that person, everything. My whole idea of the film festival is not just to make it about food, but to make it about the whole lifestyle, but at the same time, food is the crux of it. So that is why I have 9 of the best, as far as I'm concerned, and the ones who replied to Southern California's live vegan food chef here catering the event and getting people exposed to the fact that they're not giving up anything. What they're actually doing is gaining a tremendous amount of foods and incredible taste and textures and colors and forms that they've never experienced before. So actually people who do not even wish to try this lifestyle is missing out on a tremendous amount of huge expansiveness in their own realm of eating. And so that is the whole reason to have the food and the films together. Now the films are, of course, the focus. Why? Because what I found is films are the most impactful way of getting information out. Films are actually what impacts us the most in our lives. They impact people to denigrate them, to bring their energies down, and to numb them and to keep them in fear. So films that are really popular and sell a lot actually feed into fear-based behavior. Well, I thought, what if we had films that lifted us up and brought us into evolutionary lifestyles and into creative behavior instead? And that is the whole idea of the film festival. So I looked for films and filmmakers who have the courage to go beyond what's accepted in the film industry and come away from that and make films like You Can Heal Your Life with Louise Hay. That's why I salute Michael Gorgian for making that film. I think the food supply tells everything about how a society lives. And when most of your food is manufactured in a laboratory, it shows that we give our power away. We give our power away to others, and that we're depleted and that we are totally divorced from nature. And this disconnection is showing up in our youth. Children are having children. Children are getting pregnant. Children are also feeling frustrated and lost. Children are very, very violent. Children are angry, they're very upset. They're shooting up themselves with drugs or shooting up each other. And they're shooting us too, because they know that something is wrong. There are lies being told here. This is not what it's meant to be, David. This is not what we came here to do. This is not who we are. And so this disconnection has got to stop. And the disconnection starts with the disconnection with our food supply. The minute we start growing our foods and our own foods, there's a connection there. And it's very interesting. What I found something interesting, David, is that people who grow their own foods tend to eat it and eat all of it. But when you buy food in the supermarket, you're disconnected with it, so it tends to stay and rot in your refrigerator because you have no connection with it. So the disconnection is what the problem really is. It's not that something is wrong with the food. It's not even the fact that the food is, that the non-foods, we cannot call them foods, are genetically modified or that they're hybridized or, you know, all the radiated and all the things that are being done to them. It would never have been done in the first place had we stayed connected to our food supply. We'd never have given our power away for companies to come in and start doing that. I think once you begin to get the connection that you're not just here for your own entertainment, and that life is a series of experiences, and every single experience has a very strong and viable reason and is worthy of you. Once you begin to embrace that, you begin to rise to the call of something greater than yourself, of something that's outside the realm of your comfort zone. And once you begin to rise above that, magnificent forces come in that catapult you to places that on your own you would never have gone to. And for me, it was just answering the call. I saw a need and I just answered it.